UFC Austin just happened, and this is my reaction to all of the fights well, not all the fights. I didn't watch any of the prelims. I didn't have time. So I'm going to have to go back and watch those at some point. But this was one of, if not the best fight night card of the year. Off the top of my head, this would be number one. I'd have to go back and look. But this card was amazing. Even from the clips I've seen from the prelims looked incredible. But we're going to start with that main event. Arman Tsarukyan knocks out Beneil Dariush in around a minute. Now, I have already made a video breaking down this fight in more detail. You can go watch that after this video. So I'm not going to go too in depth here, but it was an amazing performance from Arman. He shut down pretty much everything Beneil tried. Kept his lead hand in front of him, constantly probing with the left hand, which shut down Beneil's jab. And when Beneil can't work off his jab, he has a hard time setting other stuff up. He had a real hard time getting any offense going. He landed like one good leg kick, and that was about it before Arman knocked him down, where he threw a knee that I don't think landed. I've watched this fight back a couple times, and I don't think that knee ever actually landed. But then what comes behind it, the right hand, and the accuracy on this right hand was crazy. Beneil is moving his head, and as Beneil is moving his head, Arman throws his right hand. And he was able to pinpoint exactly where he needed to land it, which takes so much skill, so much practice. It's insane. And the way he threw the punch was very weird. He threw it almost like a Superman punch. He didn't have his footing under him, and he was still able to generate so much power. And the speed of the punch was crazy. So not only is Arman fast and powerful with his hands, he's also extremely accurate. He's going to be extremely dangerous for pretty much everyone in this division. I think he should move up to number 4 in the rankings. I talked about this in my last video, and I think he needs to fight someone ahead of him first, and then he can get a title shot. So one of Dustin, Justin, or Charles. And I said he should fight Dustin if Dustin will take the fight. If Dustin won't, then Arman might have to wait for like Charles versus Islam to happen. And then if Islam beats Charles, which I think he probably will, Arman would fight Charles, because Charles will fight literally anyone. Unless Charles just retires, then I guess Arman's shit out of luck. But I think he beats a lot of the guys ahead of him. Like, I think he beats Justin. I think Justin's his easiest matchup. I think he takes him down, gets his back, eventually submits him, possibly. I think he could also beat Dustin. Dustin will be a bit harder of a fight, but Dustin doesn't have very good takedown defense, although Dustin is better on the ground than Justin. I don't see Dustin out grappling Arman. On the feet, they can be dangerous towards each other. Dustin would definitely win the boxing exchanges, but Arman could definitely win the kicking exchanges, especially as they're in opposite stances. Those are the two guys I think Arman is most likely to fight next. As for Beneil, I think he should maybe think about retiring. I think his days as a top contender are over. But if he is going to stick around, I think the two guys that make the most sense are Rafael Fiziev when he comes back, because Beneil's going to definitely need to take some time off, or Benoit Saint-Denis. I think those are the two guys that make the most sense, but overall it was a great performance from Arman. He is a future champion. I've been saying it for years. He is so good at 27. He's still got another 7 years of his prime. He's not even in his prime yet. His prime is still probably a year or two away. And then we go to our co-main event. Jalin Turner knocks out Bobby Green in the first round. Now, everyone has talked about this, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but that stoppage is the worst I've seen in a long time. I don't know what the ref was thinking. I don't know if he wanted Bobby Green to die. Sorry for my language. I don't like to swear that much, but goddamn, what the was that? Let's be honest here. The second Bobby Green face planted into the ground and went limp, that fight should have been called off. But instead the ref, I can't even remember his name, but that guy, waited until Bobby was completely out and half dead to stop that fight. I counted like 19 strikes landed on Bobby before the fight was stopped on the ground. That was 19 hard strikes Bobby didn't have to take and shouldn't have taken, but I guess the ref didn't have his head on his shoulders and wanted Bobby to be a warrior or some shit. And Bobby is not a young guy. Bobby's, I think, almost 40 years old, and at that age, you don't recover as well. So Bobby is going to be out for a long time, most likely, and he likely will never recover fully from this. So f that ref, f that guy. He should be fired. He should honestly be in jail, to be honest. And this isn't taking anything away from Jalin Turner. He went out there and did what he should. He was doing his job, and he put on a great performance. I did pick Bobby Green to win this fight. Jalin Turner is a massive lightweight, and I thought he would have trouble making the weight, and maybe he did. He did miss it at first. Seemed to have to shave his head to make weight. And then when I was hearing him talk in the interviews and the press conferences leading up to the fight, he didn't seem too confident. He didn't seem like he wanted to be there. He said at first he declined the fight. It was more like I have to go in there and do this instead of I get to do this and I'm excited to do this. He just didn't seem excited to fight, and I think I convinced myself that that was going to play more of an effect than it did. And maybe it would have if it went into the later rounds. Maybe Turner's cardio and chin wasn't as good, but we never saw it got tested. But stylistically, Turner definitely should have won that fight. And I was actually kind of regretting my pick a little bit during the ceremonial weigh-ins where I saw the height difference. I was like, Bobby Green is going to get head kicked to hell. And Bobby was very aware of that head kick as well. He spent a lot of this time in southpaw, which isn't his natural stance. It's not the stance he fights best at. But I think he spent a lot of this time in southpaw because he was worried about the head kick, and he keeps his hands so low, which is not the smartest thing to do against a guy who's not going to wrestle you. But then the second Green went back into orthodox, Turner was hammering him with that head kick. He threw it like 3 times, threw a body kick once, I think. But credit to Bobby, he took the head kicks very well. But Turner was just too good. Bobby landed maybe 2 good punches throughout this entire fight. Turner was constantly landing the left hands, constantly landing the right hands, fighting from range like a sniper, and Bobby just couldn't cover the distance. He didn't have his range down yet, so he had a hard time getting anything off offensively, and Turner just kept landing that right hand, landed a good left hand, and then landed a 1-2. I actually think it was a right hand. I'm going based off memory for all of this. I have nothing in front of me, and then I think he landed a 1-2 after that, which put Bobby down, and then we all know what happened after that. So it was a great bounce back performance from Jalin Turner on short notice to make quick work of Bobby Green, who is a very good fighter, definitely a top 20 fighter at lightweight, and he's still very young. He's 28 years old. He's still got so many more years left of fighting. He's not even in his prime yet either, and he's one of the best strikers in the lightweight division. I think next I would like to see him fight Rafael Dos Anjos. It will be a good test for him against a well-rounded veteran like RDA. They're very comparable in the rankings, and it would make for a pretty decent fight. I would probably favor Jalin Turner in it as well, and then he can look up after, getting that win under his belt. He can look maybe at a Beneil Dariush or a Michael Chandler. As for Bobby Green, I think he should retire. He is old. He just took a life-altering beating from Jalin Turner and the ref, and I do care about his health. But if he is going to come back and fight, I think you put him in fun fights. I would like him versus Moicano. That would be a crazy fight, but he needs to take some time off, at least 9 months to a year even. And then we go to Deiveson Figueiredo dismantling Rob Font, winning a unanimous decision 30-27. Now, it was a close-ish fight. It was close in that Deiveson didn't run away with any of the rounds, but Rob Font also didn't win any of the rounds, if you get what I'm saying. But this is a great performance from Figgy. The thing that I took out of this fight the most was that Figgy's power definitely translates to 135. Rob Font has an amazing chin. This guy only gets hurt by the most powerful of strikers. Jose Aldo, who was coming down from featherweight. Cheeto, who's one of the hardest hitting guys. And Deiveson Figueiredo coming up from flyweight really hurt Rob Font. I think twice, actually. Almost knocked him out at one point. He still hits very hard. He was very technical. His jab looked good. His right hand looked good in this fight. And Rob Font just didn't really get much offense out. And a lot of what Font was throwing was kind of weird. He threw like weird overhands where he was trying to slap with it almost. Another big thing I took out of this fight was Figgy is not that big. He's a massive flyweight, and he should definitely be fighting at bantamweight, but he's a smaller bantamweight. Rob Font was a good test for him, and he definitely passed, but I think as he climbs up the rankings and fights better and better guys, he's going to have a hard time with the size. And I got the rankings pulled up right now, and it's just murderer's row. He said he wanted to fight Peter Yan at UFC 300. That would be an interesting fight, but I think Yan would probably beat him. Figgy doesn't have super high output, and that's how you have to beat Yan. You have to overload the data, give him nothing to work off, no room to breathe. Figgy's probably not going to be able to take Jan to the ground. He has very good takedown defense, and Figgy doesn't have the best wrestling. And on the feet, I think Jan's just more technical, although Figgy might hit harder. In a 5-round fight, I don't think Figgy wins. In a 3-round fight, it could be competitive, but I would definitely favor Peter Yan. And honestly, just looking at the guys at bantamweight, I don't see him beating a lot of the ones ahead of him, and even some of the guys behind him. He's getting up there in age. I don't think he'll ever get to a title shot. I see him being somewhere between 5 and 8 in the bantamweight division. As for who I want to see him fight next, if he wants, he can go fight Peter Yan, even though I think Yan would beat him. But honestly, the fight that makes the most sense and is most interesting to me is actually Dominic Cruz. They'll be right by each other in the rankings. They're both legends. They're both around the same age. They were both champions at a similar time. Actually, wait, Figgy was a champion a little bit after Dominic Cruz. I keep forgetting Cruz was always injured, and I forgot he wasn't the champion going into the Cejudo fight. But they were both top contenders around the same time. And that, I think, is a much more competitive fight than the Yan fight. I actually think Deiveson might beat Dominic Cruz, especially in a 5-round fight. As for Rob Font, he's got to fight down in the rankings. He doesn't deserve to fight up, and he's already faced a lot of the guys who are higher up in the rankings. I personally think he should fight Jonathan Martinez or Umar. It seems like nobody wants to fight Umar, but I think Rob Font would, and it would be a good test for Umar, a veteran, a tough guy. Doesn't jump him up too high in the rankings too quickly like they did with the Corey Sandhagen fight that fell through, and I would definitely favor Umar over Rob Font by a wide margin. And then for the last fight, we're going to look at Sean Brady dominates Kelvin Gastelum, submitting him in the 3rd round with a Kimura. I don't know why, but Kelvin just could not defend a takedown to save his life, and he's known for having decent takedown defense, especially at welterweight. Is also typically pretty good at scrambling out of positions, but he just accepted every single position he was in. He couldn't get up. He couldn't stop a takedown despite Sean Brady not being an amazing wrestler. And then even when this fight was on the feet, Kelvin still wasn't doing anything. He basically just got out-grappled for 2 rounds, and then Sean Brady got him in an arm triangle, I think. He was able to escape, and then Brady switched to a Kimura, and he got it. Kelvin, man, if Kelvin can't beat Sean Brady, who's stylistically one of the easier matchups for him at welterweight in terms of a ranked fighter, I don't see him doing anything at welterweight. Probably won't even be ranked at welterweight. And back up at middleweight, it's not looking much better for him. So I think Kelvin's days as a contender are long over. I just don't understand the game plan here because he didn't have any urgency when he was on the ground. And when he was on the feet, he also didn't have any urgency. When it's in his realm, Kelvin's known for being a good, smooth, technical kickboxer with crazy power coming down from middleweight, so you'd think his power would be even more amplified, but nope. So I don't even know what you do with Kelvin at this point. I think he should stay at welterweight, but I don't even know who you give him. Do you have him face like Ian Gary or Jack Della Maddalena to try and build up their star power? And then as for Sean Brady, who I think he should fight next, I think he should either fight Gilbert Burns or the loser of Shavkat Wonderboy. I think those fights make the most sense. I think Wonderboy will most likely lose to Shavkat, and I think Wonderboy is the easiest matchup Sean Brady could have. Wonderboy doesn't have great takedown defense at this point. Now on the feet, Brady's going to get torn apart, but he should have his way with Wonderboy on the ground. I think Shavkat would murder him. And then Gilbert Burns is a tough fight as well, but that would be a fun fight. I think that would be the most fun fight out of all of them. On the feet, Sean Brady gets destroyed. Gilbert's way too powerful, way too fast, probably more technical. And then on the ground, the scrambles between these two would be insane. They're two of the best grapplers in the division. But honestly, I think Gilbert's his toughest fight because he's not going to submit Gilbert on the ground. Gilbert has the best grappling in the division, can neutralize his jiu-jitsu. And then on the feet, Sean Brady still seems a little chinny to me. He still doesn't have the best striking defense, not the best striking offense. And although Gilbert's not super technical, he's very powerful, very fast. I think he would eventually find a knockout over Sean Brady. But that is the end of the video. I got to catch up on the rest of the fights. I did watch a couple of them, but this video is already so long and I have to go do stuff. So I'm not going to talk about them today. But anyways, that is the end of the video. If you are new here and you did enjoy, please be sure to subscribe, turn on post notifications so you never miss an upload. I'm going to have my fight night predictions coming out on Thursday most likely, and then I'll probably have another video coming out on Friday, so subscribe so you don't miss that. Like the video if you did enjoy, leave your opinions or leave anything you want in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.